finished.
Aranyaganda was over last year.
Very nice.
So you're ready for the quiz?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Those two children decided, I think uncle was asking too many questions. They decided to get up.
Can you check whether it's okay? It's coming.
What is that? He hasn't given us anything.
I'm using the, anyway, by default it goes to that.
It goes the same as last week, is it?
Yeah, whatever is set up. Just check whether it works. If not, we have to wait for it.
You don't see that in the feed.
Yeah, he has created, this is last week's one, right?
Yeah, last week.
Yeah, I think he has not created one yet, this one. This week. No,
He said now. He said now.
Is it?
Stream created. Oh, here it is. Got it. I'll share it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
there.
Last year.
It's come.
He has to
it's
share
there.
it,
It's
yeah.
love. I'll share it now.
Oh yeah, now it's.
Share it.
Kavita, it was you that suggested the shawl for Ganpati?
When is that?
Okay, fine. Satish ji was saying that the Ganpati Mandal, Ganpati Mandal, the question was asked is to if we feel cold, we go back, wrap ourselves in the duvet. What happens to the Ganpati in the Pandal? Somebody by name Kavita had apparently asked, and they had wrapped the. And that shawl was given out for auction today. It was taken away for 251 pounds. So I thought it might be.
What they will do to the Ganpati when he goes into water.
That's true.
Very good. Opening list won't start.
Start.
Sahanavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavagai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Pujantam Rama Rameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakam Vande Valmiki Kokilam Manojavam Marutatullya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtam Vatatmajam Vanarayutha Mukyam Sri Ramadutam Shirasam Namami. Do a short version. Jai Raghunandan Jai Sitaram. Jai Raghunandan Jai Sitaram.
Jai Raghunandan Jai Sitaram.
Jai Raghunandan Jai Sitaram.
Janaki Vallabha Jai Raghuram.
Janaki Vallabha Jai Raghuram.
Janaki Vallabha Jai Raghuram.
Janaki Vallabha Jai Raghuram.
Dasharatha Nandan Jai Sitaram.
Dasharatha Nandan Jai Sitaram.
Janaki Vallabha Jai Raghuram.
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 Dasharatha Nandan Jai Sitaram.
Dasaratha Nandan Jai Sitaram.
Dasharatha Nandan Jai Sitaram. Janaki Vallabha Jai Raghuram.
Dasaratha Nandan Jai Sitaram. Janaki Nandan Jai Raghuram.
Dasharatha Nandan Jai Sitaram. Janaki Vallabha Jai Raghuram.
Dasaratha Nandan Jai Sitaram. Janaki Nandan Jai Raghuram.
Dasharatha Nandan Jai Sitaram.
Dasaratha Nandan Jai Sitaram.
Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om. Jai Sitaram. A quick recap of what we have discussed up until now. So last week we came to a closure of the Aranya Kandam. Rama and Lakshmana, they are in the quest of Sita, and they get just an indication from Jatayu about the direction where Ravana had taken away Sita, so they pursue that direction, and they do the last rites, the obsequies for Jatayu, and they proceed downwards, and that is where they get into the most goriest of the forests in the Aranyam, in the Dandakaranyam, and finally they come in contact with Kabandha. Kabandha is a cursed Rakshasa who was once one of the Gandharva himself, and he prays for the mercy of Rama to get him burnt alive in order for him to get a relief from the curse. And Rama and Lakshmana, they get him burnt when he is alive, and that is where Divya Purusha comes out, and he says, okay, I'm a Gandharva, I'm a son of Dhanu. He introduces himself, and finally he says how he fell into this trap, and he also gives the direction for what Rama has to do next. He gives an introduction for Sugriva. So the Kishkinda Kandam has the hero of Kishkinda Kandam. It's Hanuman. The Hanuman is the hero for Sundara Kandam. For the entire rest of the Ramayana, he is going to be seen as the hero. But there is somebody that the hero reports to. That is Sugriva. Sugriva is the Maharaja. Sugriva is one of the greatest icons that Valmiki presents to us, in which Kabanda introduces to Rama there. And he insists that he go and meet Sugriva in the Rishimukha Parvata and make friends with him. So that is where Rama and Lakshmana, they are ending their journey towards next. And finally Kabanda goes and reaches his abode. And he also indicates about Shabari. He tells Rama to visit Shabari. So Rama and Lakshmana, they go towards the Pampa Saras to meet Shabari. And that is where Valmiki presents to us the Vrittantam of Shabari. Shabari, who was a huntress, who was totally an ignorant person, living the life of an animal. And finally she comes into the Sannidhyam of the Matanga Maharishi, and she starts doing the service unasked, unsolicited, which is where she comes into the Kataksham. She receives the Guru Kataksham of Matanga Munivar, and she herself turns into a very learned person merely by the virtue of her surrender and service to all the Maharshis of Matanga Ashrama. When Matanga is said to be leaving his mortal body to take up the moksham, he calls all of his Sishyas to give away whatever that they wanted. And that is when Shabari was standing there, helpless, not knowing what to do, because all she wanted was the company of her Guru. That is where Matanga Maharshi, he gives away the Ramanama Diksha to Shabari and tells her, keep chanting it and Rama will come meet you once. Ever since, Shabari had been living in that ashrama, chanting Rama, expecting Rama every day in and day out. And Rama comes in, Shabari greets him, does the Pada Puja, and takes Rama and shows him all through the entire ashrama, singing praises of her Guru, because to her, Rama is not the God. It may be anybody, any God she doesn't know. She only knows Guru, and she had been doing this only because the Guru had asked her to do. And she shows all the ashrama, she shows every place that Matanga used to perform his puja, perform his japam, perform his dhyanam. And finally, she takes leave of Rama, and that is where she gives up her body through the Yogagni, like Sharabhanga did in the earlier episodes of the Aranyakanda. And thereafter, Rama and Lakshmana, they talk to each other. Rama tells Lakshmana, now he says that now I have started feeling a good energy after seeing these things, after coming to the Pampa Saras, after taking the holy dip in the Pampa. Now is when I have started feeling some hope of getting back to good times. So let us make haste and go meet Sugriva. So that is where the Aranyakanda comes to an end, and we will listen to what Kishkinda has for us.
Very good. So before we start Kishkinda Kanda, this story of Shabari, or this whole incident of Shabari, also reminds us about the power of satsanga. So I think down here I put this board about satsang, and often satsang which is regarded as a bunch of people sitting, chanting bhajans, etc. But as you know, the word is satsang. So you are in company not just of good people, not just of friendly people, nice people. It is Sat is that ultimate reality. So wherever there is discussion of the Lord, of that reality, and being in that company, the difference that it makes to us, the difference that it makes to our lives, is again a great. We've seen many such in the past, including Valmiki himself. When he was in the company, doesn't always mean with people. We often say satsang means you have 50 people, 100 people. It could even be the books I'm reading. It could be the channels I'm watching. So in today's age, it can be what am I subscribed to in Instagram, for example. That can also be a form of satsang, in that context. So very often when we think about these words, first of all, it's important to recognize the role these have in our life. And this is not just for spirituality. We of course use it here, but it is the same thing in all aspects. If I want to be a singer, if I want to be a musician, then the more I surround myself in that group, that company, it has a very positive flywheel. It's that snowball effect in our lives, and it changes the direction that we can take. So for many of us as spiritual aspirants, satsang is almost, there isn't a substitute for it. So in whatever way, shape or form, and I think the story of Shabari highlights and reminds us. So it is now the season of spring. The forest, they're in the Vanam, they are heading towards Pampa because that's the direction they've been told to go. And Valmiki spends almost 1 or 2 sargas describing that whole Vanam as it leads towards Pamba. He says, the whole place looks like a multicolored carpet. He talks about different, beds of kumudas. He says there are red lotuses, there are black masses of dark lilies, and there is a beautiful pond by name Matanga Sarasa. Rama bathes in that pond, and the whole scene is, and the whole water is pleasant and fragrant drinking water. And then he goes on to describe all the different flowers that you find there. He says mango grows in a flower, pomegranate trees, dava, shukla druma, karavira. Many of these you may not even know. Punnaga trees. They're all in full bloom and blossom out there. He talks about, and as the trees are also in blossom, even the nature around, the animals, the birds, there are peacocks, peahens, koyastikas, shatapatras, parrots. So as they are walking, it feels like the whole nature is rejoicing. Every aspect, whether it is the new buds sprouting, butterflies around, different plants and different birds and animals, and seeing all of that. Obviously, we are a function of the surroundings around us. just when Rama came with all that energy and he said, okay, now I can see hope, just walking through all that and seeing the different birds in pairs and the animals, going with their partners, that engenders in Rama that feeling of, look, all of nature is celebrating, and here I am, not with my beloved. And then he, as they are walking at one stage, he almost tells Lakshmana, you know what, Lakshmana? It's almost like battery drained. I think you go from here to Rishabhuka and meet Sugriva. I don't think I can go any further now. Right? Because this gorgeous spring, all the trees in bloom, all these amorous birds calling each other, deers playing with their mate, it is almost for me reminding me that Sita there is also pining. I am also pining. She must also be missing all this. I am here, and I don't think it is worth anymore. And he says, I'm not sure I can live on anymore. He starts saying, I used to pray to the wind god, and I asked where is, but looking at the pollens now floating, and that is, the birds will now, the butterflies will now come, and the pollination season will start. I feel it is like a curse on me. It is beauty for nature, but this wind is almost like taunting me, right? So he says, whatever looked beautiful to me in Sita's company, everything he looks at is this. When Sita was there, I know I used to give her this flower. She used to like this. But now that she is not there, it doesn't look beautiful anymore. Okay? He says all these trees, pleasant foliage, all these varied flowers, they now make me more and more gloomy because my lady love is not with me. So in all of this, again, we've seen this multiple times, and when Lakshmana is at one extreme, Rama is the one to balance, and vice versa. And again, this time it's the other way around, where Rama is losing his sense of balance. Lakshmana's first advice to Rama is to say, stop grieving. Right? I mean, he has to obviously, the elder brother, so he can't be authoritative, but he uses the word, he says, Ma Shucha Purushottama. And this word Ma Shucha, which don't grieve, is very poignant in all of our literature. The first verse in Bhagavad Gita where Shri Krishna starts advising Arjuna, he starts by saying, Nanu Shochanti Pandita. He says, the wise do not grieve. The last verse in chapter 18, as he's completing his entire, after he has given the entire Bhagavad Gita and he's saying, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, Ahamtva Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami Ma Shuchaha. He again concludes by saying, don't grieve. So the entire teaching of the Gita later is about don't grieve. So here, we obviously now, by then obviously Mahavishnu has gotten this advice so many times that he is confident. But he is saying, oh Rama, may all bode well for you, but you should steady yourself. This excess sneha is not something that you should have. So he is saying, Tyaja viyogajam dukkham smritva sneham priyejani. Sneham. You say, I love, I'm attached to my children. Ati sneham parishvangar vartiradrapi dahyate. So he says this excess attachment is not healthy, Rama. Okay? Love is good, but that should not become attachment. He says, you set aside this grief, and he gives an example. He says, even there is a wet wick, the oil lamp wick. He says, when it is dipped in oil, even that wet wick will start lighting up. Okay? So you should not do this. So let's just pause here for a minute, right? I mean, Rama is getting advice, and he's being told, don't have excess sneha or attachment. So what is this difference between love and attachment? Because in our common parlance, we use this interchangeably. I love my children, I'm attached to my children. I love my family, I'm attached to my family. They are, in colloquial usage, it is quite, but in Sanatana Dharma, when we are talking from a spirituality perspective, these words have very different connotations. So what do you think is the difference between love and attachment, if there is any?
Love is like doing your stuff without expectations, probably. This is just my understanding. Attachment is you kind of start to grieve, or your expectation, something, some kind of expectation, whether it is conditional or unconditional, whatever it might be.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Attachment is where you become a part of the. So if you are affectionate towards somebody, then you see them as an external somebody, and then you are showering your love, affection for them. Attachment is where you become a part of them, and therefore, if there comes a situation where you have to part ways, you find it extremely painful.
Love is when, say for example, you take a squirrel, you enjoy it, you love how it looks, you let it go. You don't grieve for that. Whereas attachment, you grieve for that.
Yeah.
When you're attached to it,
Don't let it go.
you grieve for that.
Love is unconditional.
Like you said, expectation, no expectation. Any other thoughts?
According to karma theory, probably. So when you do things without attachment, karma doesn't stick to you. But if you do with attachment, karma comes.
Correct. So it is important therefore to understand, because the whole first 6 chapters of the Gita are all about attachment, non-attachment. All very valid points. And Gurudev describes attachment as saying, attachment is whenever there is I and I want that come into the picture, that action becomes attachment. Right? So with attachment, first of all, you start with an underlying premise, and this is not conscious, many of this is subconscious, that I am incomplete. So I need something to make me complete, and therefore I do something. And when that something is something, some person, some situation, some object, whatever it is, that thing is not there, I am incomplete, therefore I grieve. Right? Whereas love is already saying, I am already full, first and foremost. Right? So I don't need anything more to make me more. It's like the ocean. You put 1 billion gallons of water in the ocean, ocean doesn't feel I've become full or 1 billion gallons flowing away. Ocean is already is at the brim, right? So in that sense, first and foremost, it is recognizing what position am I operating from. Right? But there is a very fine difference. When the word detachment is used, the first thing that comes to you going to spiritual classes, detachment means he's now not interested in his family, he's going to leave them, go somewhere, sit in the forest. But detachment, going back to the definition of attachment, is when I remove I and I want from the picture, it now allows me to operate entirely for what is needed for that person. Because I have no personal agenda in this anymore. Whether it is my work, whether it is my child, whether it is my family, whatever it is, I know I am doing, even if it is something harsh or strict or something, but I am doing it because it is now, as you say, I have no ulterior motive. And it's not that we as parents or elders have ulterior, but somewhere deep down it comes in. That's why it comes and bites us. So much I did for my child. 50 years I worked day and night, nothing. Because somewhere it has subconsciously crept in. So it's almost just being aware of Lakshmana's advice right now is, Rama, you, and he goes ahead later on, he says, in this case he says, you are actually Mahatmanam. He says, Tyajyatam kama vrittatvam shokam sanyasa prishtatah. So you don't know who you are, Rama. Mahatmanam, Kritatmanam, Atmanam Nava Buddhise. You should first recognize your true nature. You're already so great. So don't let grief overcome you. And it's also a reminder that however, like one of the reasons for Rama Avatar is, even though he is the Lord, when you have to operate in the realm of a human, you then go through all that. Right? So this is not to say that when we feel the pain of grief, we don't use this as a case study. Even Rama felt, so I am also, no, that is fine, but that's not the role, that's not the reason why this is given to say, because we are very smart like that. People find exactly the clauses in Bhagavatam to say Krishna also stole, he had also multiple wives, but these are not given so that we can tweak it for our needs. But anyway, it's important for us to just reflect on this love versus attachment. He then goes on to say, any problem, anything you want to do, one of the most important things is utsaham. He says motivation is strength. There is no strength better than motivation, because if you are motivated, nothing is impossible. With motivation alone, we can recover Janki. We'll see that again in Sundarakandam. When Hanuman starts, the first thing is that I have to whip up my enthusiasm and motivation, not kind of half-heartedly, we'll see whether comes not. No, you have to have that, I'm going to do it. And you see them people, they're bubbling with energy. Right? So that motivation is needed. There is no scope for us to have this, can I do it, can I not? We have to go ahead. He says, you leave your passion for love, you do not realize you're a Mahatma. He says, Mahatmanam Kritatmanam, you have got complete control of yourself. And they continue walking. So again, battery down, Lakshmana has given one more charge, they continue walking. Now meanwhile, as all of this is happening, these two warriors are walking down the forest in this glorious spring. The camera shifts now to Rishyamukha mountain. And there is a Vanara Sugriva surrounded by 4 of his ministers. Nala, Neela, Jambavan and Hanuman. So these 4 ministers with Sugriva are looking, and Sugriva is watching these two broad-chested, tall, long hands with bows, arrows carried, and he suddenly starts to panic. Right? So Shankar had told us last time about the greatness of Sugriva, the warrior, but he's right now, and we'll see later, I think you had mentioned, he has already gone through, he's been chased all around the earth by his brother. So for him, he's like in a panic-stricken mode. So the moment he sees, he says, oh my God, who are these people who have been sent out here, they don't, I'm sure they've been sent by Vali. Vali is chasing me, he cannot come. We'll see why he cannot come in this place. But I think they have come with a deceptive guise, wearing all these garments of bark tree. They look dressed like sannyasis, but I can already see they've got bows, they've got swords, and they don't look like normal people who are. This is not the place people normally walk around, right? So there is something here. And obviously, as a leader, he's panicking. His ministers around are starting to panic. So again, the first word from our going to be hero of the Ramayana going forward, Hanuman says, Bhayam nehasti valinaha. He says, first of all, please set aside all this undue panic. He doesn't say don't be scared. There is, first of all, this is the Rishabhuka mountain, Malaya mountain. Vali cannot come here. We should also, he says, how should we act? He says, anything you do, first and foremost, do it with complete awareness, thoughtfully, plan, read the signals. He's like proper minister of strategy out here. He's telling Sugriva and all of the other ministers. He says, not being thoughtful is not a way for a king to command. So don't be impulsive. Let us see. I can't say for sure, but I don't get the sense that they're here to attack us. Sugriva telling you all that is fine, but you know Vali. He has, I've already been tortured, so much I have lost. I don't have the same level of confidence or comfort that you are having, Hanuman. You do one thing. You please go. Okay? And somehow go and find out their intentions. Obviously, don't show your true nature, etc. Just go there. And he also said, as you're talking to them, face me. Because if I get a sense that something is wrong, through eye contact itself, I don't want to wait for you to discover and run. Through eye contact itself, I can start running. So, you find a way in which as you're talking to them, you're facing me. So then I can go there. Again, Hanuman decides this is not worth arguing because, first of all, he is also a valid concern. And let's get the facts. So Hanuman then decides to take this guise of a Brahmana. So he decides, I will go down because I don't know the strangers. I'm not sure. Suddenly, and we'll go down later on and see what this word Vanara means. Because normally the word Vanara is associated with a monkey. Okay? But Vanara is said it's made up of Vana and Nara. Vanara. Vana is forest, Nara is a being or a human.
Forest
dwellers. So in a way, forest dwellers were what were described as Vanara. Now it's also later on, there are references that they probably also had the ability to take the guise of monkeys, etc. But it is not Valmiki Ramayana, as far as I have read so far, I have not seen any reference to they are specifically monkeys only. Maybe somewhere later translations we could, and then of course, mind has a great way of images. When you see Hanuman, you think, we've all seen through Ramayana and all these pictures, the image of a monkey when you think of Sugriva, Vali. Maybe somewhere it has come in. So we will use this interchangeably, but in the way this is all said out here, the word used is Vanara, which effectively means not necessarily the kings and people we see like Rama. These beings or these dwellers were capable of taking different forms, one of which possibly was like a monkey. So yes, they did have a tail, all that is true, but doesn't mean that they were monkeys. Certainly then you start arguing, monkey coming and speaking Sanskrit, and now you're going to see Rama praising. So it is not exactly that monkey comes and starts speaking. Vanara is one type of, just like we say tribals, different clan and species. This is one such category. Is my reckoning. I don't know if you have heard of a different interpretation Vanara in your this thing.
That is Rangana. He talks about a certain species that earlier existed called the Homo erectus or something, which was like almost monkey-like.
Okay. So
Yeah,
maybe
basically
somewhere
it's
it's an evolution.
That's what I thought. I thought it was like an evolution Darwin, an earlier stage of man is where.
Like the Neanderthals, that stuff. Yeah. Don't know. So anyway, but right now but one thing he also says that he can adopt different guises. So he can take different forms. So right now he comes in the guise of a Brahmana. And he comes and as he's approaching, he looks at them and he says, you are looking like a brilliant complexion. So he comes like a Brahmana, he's approaching them. He says, Rajarshi Deva Pratimau, Tapasav Shamshita Vratav, Desham Katimam Pram. Which country have you all come from? What brings you into this region? It looks like from your face you have done lots of vrata. Okay. So where have you come from? And then he says, as you are walking through here, this old river, all these pious waters seems to have been enhanced by your golden sheen. But who are you? You are clad in tree bark, you are kind of heaving deep sigh. I can see you are not very happy. You don't look like you are in a very happy state. But you look like Veeras. this whole mountain is lit up by your brilliance. Okay, and you look like you're almost comparable to Devas, and you should be ruling a kingdom. What brings you to this place? Okay. There are about 2 or 3 verses. This is Hanuman addressing Rama for the first, in the very first, this thing, considered very auspicious. He says, Padmapatrekshanau Virau Jata Mandala Dharinau Anyonyas Sadrishau Virau Devalokad Vivagatau Yadrichyaeva Sampraptau Chandra Suryau Vasundharam Vishalavakshasau Virau Manushau Devarupinau Simhaskandau Mahotsaho Samada Vivagau Vrishau. So he says, your eyes, Padmapatrekshanau, your eyes resemble lotus petals, Padmapatra. I can see you all are wearing matted locks, Jata Mandala Dharinam, but it looks like you all have descended from the world of the Devas. Okay, you are not from here. You are Anyonya Sadrisho Virav, Devalokad Vigavatam. And then he says, it's almost like serendipity that I have met you here. Yadrichaya Sampraptam. It's not like a very planned encounter here. And your broad chest and lion shoulders. And finally he says, Ubhau Yogyavaham Manye Rakshitum Prithvi Mimam Sasar Garavanam Kritsnam Vindhya Meru Vibhushitam. He says, looking at you, it looks like you are capable of protecting this entire earth, the rivers and the Meru mountains, and yet the way you are walking looks like you are coming and asking for help. And he then finally concludes with his introduction. Although he is wearing the guise of a Brahmana, somehow in the front of the Lord he is not able to keep that guise. So he says, Praptoham Prashitastena Sugrivena Mahatmana. I've been sent by Mahatma Sugriva. Rajnya Vanara Mukhyana Hanuman Nama Vanaraha. This is, I've been sent, I'm a minister, I'm Hanuman, and I am a Vanara. Okay. So in the Kamba Ramayanam, that poet, when he is describing this scene, he says when Hanuman, because obviously they were all not light creatures, they were heavy bones, and quite giant. Hanuman feels as he is walking closer and closer to Rama as he is approaching, Hanuman says, I am feeling lighter and lighter. Okay, on one way I can feel my body weight almost leaving me, and yet there is something else that is feeling heavier, and that is my love for this person. I have never met this person, I have never seen this person, but there is something that is almost like a counterbalance. While my body weight is feeling lighter, I can feel like I am almost flying, but my love for this person is feeling heavier and heavier with every step that I take. Okay, and then he finally says, in this case, Sugriva, the Dharmatma, would like to make friends with you, and I, the Vanara, am son of Vayu. I am his minister. I can take any form and I can go anywhere. I have come here in the guise of a mendicant because Sugriva asked me to. Okay. Now, before we go ahead, it's just worth taking a few minutes on Hanuman. Introduction. As we said, he was the minister of Sugriva, but Hanuman's who's Hanuman's mother? Anjali Putra. We said Anjali Sudha. Who's Hanuman's father?
Vayu. Lord Vayu.
Here there are 2-3 answers. In the Hanuman Chalisa, he says Shankar Suvan Kesari Nandan. So you are an incarnation of Shankar, Shiva, Kesari Nandan. So you are the son of Kesari. But it also says Ramadut Atulit Bal Dhama Anjani Putra Pavan Sut Nama. Pavan Sut. So the son of wind god. So there are a few different stories interwoven, which is why it's sometimes hard to say, okay, how is it that he's also the son of Vayu, also son of Kesari, also incarnation of Shiva? The story goes like this, which is, and some of this is from Brahmanda Purana, some of these have come from Ramcharitmanas. But first and foremost, when Mahavishnu was coming down to earth in response to the request from the Devas and Brahmaji, Shiva also said, we also have to go down, and the whole Devas, that's why I said, all these Devas are all, Sugriva is Surya, right? And Hanuman is Shankar. So in that sense, at one level, Shiva said, I want to go back, but I cannot go as a brother, because then it won't work that way, because then Rama will keep respecting me. So I will go as I'm going to come and support downstream. So that way Shankara Suvan is incarnation of Shiva. So Hanuman is an Amsham, an avatar, an incarnation of Shiva. Now there was this, the story of this mother Anjani is she was originally an Apsara. And when you sometimes get too much comforts and she's been living the life of an Apsara comfort, got a little bit bored and started going around, and she saw a Vanara in doing some meditation in the forest, troubled, started throwing stones, etc. Again, playful, saying how can a Vanara be acting like a sage? This Vanara then says, you are not fit for, because you are unnecessarily troubling, you are not fit to live this life of an Apsara. I think you should come and be cursed as a monkey, okay, or as a Vanara. And she then assumes a form, but where she finds herself in this new clad appearance of hers, she finds a makeshift Shivalinga. So she goes there and says, I know I've made a mistake, but I don't want to waste any more time. I am going to spend the rest of my time only doing penance to Shiva. So that's how Anjani, because that's her way of seeking repentance for what she has done. And during that time, they say that Vayu is the one who brings the seed, in effect, on behalf of Shiva, that then impregnates and gives birth to Hanuman. And then Kesari is the Vanar father, you can say, who is effectively growing up. But the symbolism of all this is used to say what qualities has Hanuman picked from each person, right? So from someone like Lord Shiva, qualities like compassion, devotion, austerity. Kesari was a lion chieftain in that sense, he's almost like a king, right? So that royal fearlessness, majestic, all the royal attributes. And from Vayu, the Pavan Sutanama, the most important, when you think about Surya, Chandra, these are, you can say, oh, sun is there, sun is not there, I can see the moon, etc. But Vayu is everywhere. Without Vayu, nobody can live. But Vayu never makes any big deal. It doesn't say, oh, you cannot feel Vayu anywhere, right? So Vayu in that sense represents pure Karma Yoga, right? Which is, I'll go do my work. I'm out there, I'm kind of doing what needs to be done, but I don't take any credit for what I'm doing. So that quality of humility, service and Karma Yoga is what Hanuman has acquired from Vayu. So these three, you can almost think of them as father figures in whichever way, but Hanuman has imbibed all these qualities. Now, when Hanuman introduces himself, Rama is extremely pleased, and then he starts addressing Lakshmana. He doesn't speak to Hanuman. And he says, oh Saumitri, you first talk in a friendly manner with the sweetest words to this Vanara, who seems to be sharp in discerning why we are here. Okay? And he says, this is not, he starts praising. Rama has met so many different people through this entire three kandams. He's met Vishwamitra, he's been taught by Vasishta, he's met lots of great sages through the forest. And Rama is not known to just idle praise. But here he says, Nan Rigveda Vinitasya, Na Yajurveda Dharinah, Na Samaveda Vidushah, Shakyamevam Vibhashitum. He says, even somebody who's well trained in the Rig Veda or the Yajur Veda or the Samaveda, and if they know it by heart, will not be able to speak like this Hanuman has done. Now what seemed like a very casual, you look like this and all that, he says, because the reason is each of the points Hanuman has raised have references to different parts of the Vedas. So where the Devas are telling the Lord, you are capable of conquering the world, what form you are taking, he's made references from there. He then speaks about Hanuman's eloquence and the qualities of a good speaker. Because one of the things about Hanuman, when we say Buddhir Balam, we use the word Vakpatutvam, right? Vakpatutvam is the quality of eloquence, how to speak. And Rama says, this person has spoken without a single grammatical slip. His talk is neither verbose nor ambiguous, neither too slow nor hurried. And we talk about now public speaking, right? We use this in no filler, when to pause for effect, what intonations to use, when to modulate your voice. He says his speech comes from his chest through the throat. It's not superficial here. You can see it is coming from there. And it is pitched at the right tone, not too shrill, not too soft. His pronunciation is well cultivated. He's speaking at the right pace and it captivates the heart. And then he says, Evam gunagunair yukta yasyasyu karya sadhakaha tasya siddhyanti sarvartha duta vakya prachodita. He says, any king who has got ministers and taskmasters like this person can get all their goals accomplished because they have such strong diplomatic skills. Right? And we see that in today's, especially now in the last few years with the different governments, you can see the people you appoint for things like external affairs, people who are your diplomats and ambassadors in different countries, they make a big role in shaping almost the brand of a country in the world stage. Right? You cannot come across overly aggressive. You cannot come across weak. You have to strike the right balance. You need to know what battles to pick, right? And you need to know how you represent your country. So he says this such diplomatic skills. He says whoever has got will be able to kind of get any of their goals accomplished because they've got such strong diplomats. But in all of this, why is Rama not speaking directly to Hanuman? He's addressing Lakshmana and he's telling Lakshmana, you tell him what this is happening.
Kings usually don't speak to the dutas or mediators directly. They usually speak through their ministers.
It's a protocol, right? I mean, and this is not a superior inferior. It is just the protocol, right? So, when you welcome when a prime minister is coming, the person to welcome should be the prime minister of your country. You can't just say I'm sorry. So it is almost so Hanuman has also come saying I'm the minister of Sugriva, and in this case, if Rama were the king, his minister would be Lakshmana. So in this case, Rama is the minister you speak to him. So Lakshmana then tells him and he says, we are here to find Sugriva, and he describes all of the events that have taken place so far and what brought them here. And we spoke about different Sharanagatis. Here is one where Rama is seeking Sharanagati with Sugriva. Because that's his state. He cannot, even for all his might, etc., at this stage, in the avatar he has taken, he is going to need the help. So he says, Pitayasya purayasit sharanyo dharma vatsalah tasya patra sharanyascha sugrivam sharanam gataha. He says, once upon a time, Lakshmana says, everybody would take refuge in him and in his father Dasharatha Maharaj, who protected Dharma. Now, my brother comes seeking refuge in Sugriva. And at that time, Hanuman says, okay, I will, that's great, Sugriva is also looking, I will take you there. And he takes them there, he takes them to the Rishabhaka mountain. He explains to Sugriva the intention, briefly explains. And then Sugriva is extremely pleased because he is also looking for some way to get some help. So he says, the fact that you should seek my friendship, like I'm just a Vanara, is not only of honor, but it is also beneficial to me. And if you like my friendship, please hold my stretched hands and let there be like a gentleman's agreement. So at that stage, Hanuman takes a bit of twigs and fire sticks and lights a fire. Because there is no contract, agreement, nothing, there is no stamp duty. So they go round the fire, right? And that is how the alliance between Sugriva and Rama is formed. Now even here, one of the symbolisms that is often referred to is to say, while this is a diplomatic alliance being formed, Sugriva in some sense represents the Jivatma that has been searching all this while. It is in agony, it is in pain, it is anxious, it is running away. Vali in effect represents all of the problems, challenges that keep coming. We will see later why the problems cannot come in the Rishabhaka mountain, but Sugriva has been running around from them. He knows that the only way out is to reach Paramatma. However much band-aid you put, he does not have the ability to fight and face all of these challenges and problems around him. And that Paramatma here represents Rama. But the person who brings the two together is none other than the Guru, which again is represented by Hanuman. So in the Sankat Mochan, we know Hanuman Chalisa is a very popular composition of Swami Tulsidas. He's got another one, it's an 8 verse, Sankat Mochan Hanuman Ashtak. It's an 8 verse just on Hanuman, where the whole theme is about how Hanuman has removed Sankat is problems or challenge. Mochan is removal. So he talks about 8 different types of challenges and problems Hanuman has removed throughout his life. And for each of them there is the apparent story. Like for example, you removed the sorrow of Sugriva, that's one story. You removed the sorrow of Sita, that's another story. You removed the sorrow of Angad and others when you had to fly there. So that way there are many sorrows. And for each of them, there is a inner significance to say what does the actual, this is not just Sugriva, Vanara making alliance with Rama, but in this case, being attacked by desires and your challenges all around, the Jivatma finally has to meet the Paramatma, and Hanuman in this case is acting as the Guru that makes that alliance together. Okay? So with that, Rama says, "O great Vanara, I know that a friend in need is indeed a good friend. I will slay that Vanara who has abducted your wife." So Sugriva briefly explains what has happened. Now, as all of this is happening, and these two have made an alliance, at that time, three people, so again, like, these cameras shifting, now you can see suddenly three people, the screen is shifted into three parts. Their left eyelid starts to twitch. Okay. On one hand, it is Vali whose left eyelids are twitching or throbbing. Sita's left eyelids are throbbing, and Ravana's left eyelids are throbbing as this whole thing is taking place. And again, the symbolism here is for a lady when her left eyelids throb, that's a good sign. For a male when the left eyelids throb, that's a bad sign. So with this alliance, it's a classic. Last time we saw one way of interval of the movie with the Shabari Moksha. This is again a slightly more dramatic, kind of coming to that stage where an alliance is formed, and now hopefully from here on it's going to be an interesting year. So we pause here for today, and then we will see how in the future, in the next class, how what brought Sugriva here, why is he seeking help, how does Rama help him, and how the journey from there on proceeds. Okay. We were thinking, because we have now introduced an important character in the Ramayana with Hanuman, maybe we conclude these classes with a Hanuman Chalisa. Okay. I'm not sure if any of you know Hanuman Chalisa. Otherwise, we can send the link, or you can. It's about 40, so it's hard to repeat and follow. So if you know, you listen. If you can find it online, you can refer and read. But otherwise, the way we have all learnt is just listening a few times, and then we will all learn. So we will, from today, in addition to the morning, the starting bhajan, we will just conclude the class with Hanuman Chalisa. Tell me if you have found it, or if you need a link or something. Hundreds of different tunes. I'm going to start with one, but we might adapt as we go along. Shri Guru Charan Saroj Raj Nij Manu Mukur Sudhari Varno Raghubar Vimal Jasu Jodayak Falchari Buddhihin Tanu Janike Sumiro Pavan Kumar Val Buddhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Harahu Kalesha Vikaram Jai Hanuman Gyan Gun Sagar Jai Kapis Tinu Lok Ujagar Ram Dut Atulit Baldham Anjani Putra Pavan Sutnam Mahavir Vikram Bajrangi Kumati Nivar Sumati Ke Sangi Kanchan Varan Viraj Subesha Kanan Kundal Kunchit Tesa Hat Vajra aur Bhaja Viraj Andre Munj Jane Musaj Shankar Suvan Kesari Nandan Tej Pratap Mahajagvandan Vidyavan Guni Ati Chatur Ram Kaj Karibe Ko Atur Prabhu Charitra Sunibe Ko Rasiya Ram Lakhan Sita Man Vasiya Sushma Rupa Dhari Siyani Dikava Vikat Rupa Dhari Lank Jarava Bhima Rupa Dhari Asur Samhare Ramchandra Ke Kaj Samare लाए संजीवन लखन जी आए श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए रघुपति की नी बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरत ही समभाई सरस बदन तुम रोजस गावे श्रीपति कंठ लगावे सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद सारद सहित अहीसा यम कुबेर दिगपाल जहाते कवि को विद कही सके कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही कीना राम मिलाए राजपद दीना तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जान जुग सहस्र योजन पर भानु लील्यो ताहि मधुर फल जान प्रभु मुद्रिका मेलि मुख माहि जलधि लांघि गए अचरज नाहि दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुमरे तेते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे होत न आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे सब सुख लहै तुम्हारी शरण, तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना। आपन तेज समारो आपै, तीनों लोक हांकते कांपै। भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे। नासे रोग हरे सब पीड़ा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा। संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन कर्म वचन ध्यान जो लावे। सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, सोई अमित जीवन फल पावे। चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा, मैं प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा। साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे। अष्ट सिद्धि नव निधि के दाता, असबर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुमरे पासा, हो रघुपति के दासा। तुमरे भजन राम को पावै, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावै। अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाय, जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त काय। और देवता चित्त न धरहि, हनुमत से ही सर्व सुख करहि। संकट कटे मिटे सब पीड़ा, जो सुमिरै हनुमत बलबीरा। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई। जो शत बार पाठ कर कोई, छूटहि बंदी महासुख होय। जो यह करे हनुमान चालीसा, होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीसा। तुलसीदास सदा हरिचेरा, कीजय नाथ हृदय मह डेरा। पवन तनय संकट हरन, मंगल मूर्ति रूप। राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसव सुरभूप। सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। उमापति महादेव की जय, बोलो भाई सब संतन की जय। सियावर रामचंद्र भगवान की जय। विष्णु जी पूर्ण बोलो। पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।
Thank you.